drowning in debt? Are your credit card bills getting higher and higher? Are you tired of all those harassing phone calls, morning, noon, and night? Have you missed some mortgage payments or car payments? If you're experiencing financial difficulty, there's hope and help. Welcome to the Bankruptcy Hour. My name is Steve Jurnovoy. I'm here with my partner, Martin Lewis. We're from the law firm of Lewis and Jurnovoy, located downtown. We're going to be here for the next hour talking about Chapter 7 and Chapter 13 bankruptcy or any other kind of financial questions you may have. Martin, welcome to another Bankruptcy Hour.
Stephen, it's good to be here. I'm always happy to answer people's questions, address their concerns regarding financial problems. We have offices in Pensacola, in Panama City, Crestview, and Fort Walton. So we're all over the Panhandle. We're here to try and help you. We're just really a phone call away. Stephen, a lot of people out there having financial problems, a lot of people struggling to pay their bills each month. And it's not just like trying to pay credit card debt or medical bills. I mean, people are struggling just to pay their rent or pay their mortgage payment and meet basic living expenses, much less service other debt that's out there. So we've been real busy in all of our offices. We do travel around to all four of our offices. Our main office is in Pensacola, but we travel around to all of these offices to meet with people to see what we can do to try and help them out.
And Martin, I think, no matter where we go, people's problems are the same. It's struggling out there just to meet basic living expenses. And I think, we've always been busy, but I think what's kind of putting it over the top now is what's happening with property insurance here in Florida. And, people's mortgage payments are going up because the insurance has increased 30–40%. We're seeing people with $300, $400, $500 increases in their mortgage payments. Not only that, you got to think about the rental market too, because the same thing's happening there, and the landlord's just passing it on to everyone out there. So, people are living paycheck to paycheck, and now all of a sudden, they get $300 or $400 extra dollars they have to come up with on their mortgage or rent payment. And where's it coming from? It's coming from the credit cards, and you see all the articles out there that saying that credit card use is skyrocketing out there, and we're getting to levels where we were 10, 12 years ago when there was a real problem with it. So that's the major problem, and it's it's getting all kinds of people, all different lifestyles in our office because it's they can't just handle it anymore.
Right, Stephen, and you're right. The money has to come from somewhere, and no one is exempt from this insurance crisis, because you're right, it hits people who owns homes, and then it hits the tenants. And that's really just about everybody out there can be impacted by this increase of people are paying with homeowners insurance. And then there's just so much more out there. There's so much costs of whether it's fixing your car or going to the grocery store, or maybe you have some home maintenance. Everything seems to cost more. And then I've had homeowners come in and saying, look, I can't get insurance. They want me to go buy a new roof. And people are having to figure out, well, how am I going to pay to afford my house, much less, again, pay all this other debt that I've piled up on. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to try and help you figure all of that out. We have people come in on a free appointment every week and sit down and talk to us about their financial problems so we can help point them in the right direction. Some of the people who come in to see us end up in a bankruptcy case. So sometimes bankruptcy can help people, but not everyone who comes in to see us actually needs a bankruptcy. But we're just a phone call away. Pick up the phone, give us a call, set up that free appointment. Let us try and help you out and move towards resolution for you.
And Martin, it's all about setting up a game plan and how are we going to, move forward with, you know, our current financial situation and, you know, what do I need to be able to do that. And you're right, you know, a lot of times people need a bankruptcy and they'll come in figuring out there's just no way I can keep my house. And, you know, while we restructure, whether we're getting rid of debts or restructuring them in a bankruptcy, it frees up money that you're not paying to the credit card companies anymore to help you make that house payment. And that's what we're seeing in the last month or two, when, you know, people are coming in that were in fairly good shape before, but this extra money, whether it's the rent increase or mortgage increase, or, you know, it costs a lot more at the food store now for everyone. Doesn't matter what it is, something's got to give, and if we can restructure it, even using a bankruptcy case, we've been pretty successful at helping people keep their houses.
Stephen, we're also seeing a big uptick in government collections. So the government, mainly through the SBA, the Small Business Administration, has loaned out a lot of money in this area over the last 5 or 10 years, whether it's from various hurricanes or maybe through COVID. A lot of money was loaned, and a lot of people haven't been able to pay that money back or make their payments. And the government is really, they're garnishing people, they're seizing bank accounts, they're seizing tax refunds. And the government doesn't necessarily have to take you to court and file a lawsuit against you. They can really jump in and garnish your wages pretty quick. So, Stephen, we're seeing a lot of people with defaulted SBA loans. I know after Hurricane Michael in the Panama City area, a lot of people had SBA loans. Again, during COVID, people got SBA loans. People got SBA loans after Hurricane Sally in the Pensacola area. So these are real serious, and Stephen, it can be real hard to pay all this stuff back. I mean, yep. we all have good intentions when we borrow the money and we feel like we can pay it back, but sometimes circumstances dictate, hey, there's just no money there to make these payments.
Martin, is the SBA loans treated just like, you know, another loan from a bank? Can you bankrupt on those?
Absolutely. So we can put the SBA loan in bankruptcy just like a credit card or medical bill. So even though they have like superpowers when they're going after you to collect, when we file bankruptcy, they're just in the same boat with everybody else. Mm-hmm. And so that debt can be wiped out in a bankruptcy.
So, you know, if you're having problems with the SBA loans, come in and you know, let's talk about that too. And I'm sure, you know, most people who have the SBA loans, Martin, have a bunch of credit card debt and some other loans out there. So, you know, that's just the way it is, and we'll help you take care of those also.
And that's right, Stephen. So look, we see people with all types of debt. So the SBA loans, we see people with credit card debt, medical bills, signature loans. We see people with cosign loans, internet loans, payday loans, title loans, driving across the line to Alabama loans. I mean, if you've got debt, some type of loan, chances are we've seen it and we can deal with it and help you resolve it. A lot of this debt can just be wiped out into bankruptcy.
You know, another one of those debts, Martin, is like a repossession deficiency. Right. If you've had a car or an RV or a boat repoed, and you still owe the creditor money, that, you know, we see a lot of people with that out there, and we can get rid of that in the bankruptcy also.
Stephen, we see people from all different walks of life. I mean, there's not any particular person that has financial problems. I mean, at some point, maybe we could all have financial problems. So you could be young, you could be 19 or 20 and have financial problems, or in your 20s, you could be in your 80s or 90s. So financial problems don't discriminate against how old you are. So we see people who are married, we see people who are single, we see people who are divorced, we see so many different types of people in our office. We see grandparents in our office trying to raise grandchildren. We see wage workers in our office. We see self-employed people in our office. We have people who work for the government. So whether it's the state of Florida or your civil service and you work for the federal government, we see military in our office. We see Army, Navy, Air Force people. Again, the financial problems, they don't really care where you work or who you are. I mean, if you owe, and you've got the same issues as everyone else trying to figure out, hey, how am I going to satisfy this obligation?
And, you know, Martin, people out there, in a perfect world, everyone would be able to pay their bills, but, you know, we live in the real world, and as you were saying, you know, things happen out there, and just think how easy it is to, you know, imagine yourself, you know, you lose a job. Maybe you have a medical problem, you can't work, or a disability, you can't work anymore. Maybe you get a divorce. Maybe you have kids or grandkids come back with you because they can't make it out there, and you're slaving away and helping them. Maybe it's elderly parents you're taking care of. But these are the consequences that cause people to file a bankruptcy case. They, you know, lose a job and, you know, don't find a job for a while, and things snowball, and it doesn't take, I mean, it's a month, maybe 2 months, things just, they can get out of control real fast, and that's what typically happens. And, you know, Martin, you always say that bankruptcy is a consequence of something else, and these are a bunch of, you know, issues that happen out there that really create problems for people. And it's not just overextending, that happens too, but for the most part, you know, we can pinpoint, you know, we look, there's medical problems and the insurance didn't cover it, or maybe they didn't have insurance and they spent a day or two in the hospital and it's $50,000, and, you know, that just broke the camel's back.
And no one, Stephen, wants to file bankruptcy. I mean, sure, most people, when they come in their office, say, look, I made these debts, I'd like to pay them back, but the reality of it is they can't pay it back, and that's what goes on in bankruptcy. The court understands this. So when you go through in a bankruptcy case, and we're going to talk about bankruptcy later in the show, the court understands why you're filing a bankruptcy. So for most people, Stephen, they hang on too long and probably should file bankruptcy a lot quicker than they do. But again, most people feel like, oh my gosh, I made these debts, I really need to pay them back. But what we find out is people are, you know, they're not paying their mortgage and they're paying their credit cards. Or they're not going to the doctor and they're paying their bills. Or they're not eating food and they're paying their credit card debt. So they're sacrificing other things in their life to try and stay current. Or even robbing Peter to pay Paul, meaning, hey, I got to go borrow more money just to pay out these debts and shell it out to everyone else. I mean, these are all things that really push people to end up in a bankruptcy one day.
And Martin, when people are really, really struggling out there, you know, part of our job in the, you know, free appointment is we're going through all this, and we're supposed to, you know, clear everything out of the way, and we're going to talk no nonsense and get to the bottom line. And the bottom line is, you know, you guys aren't going to make it without any type of bankruptcy case. And sometimes it's hard for people to see. Everyone, it's paycheck to paycheck, it's fighting one creditor and another, and they can't see a big picture. And we try and bring the big picture in. You can sit here, and unless you hit the lottery, this is going to be your life for the next 5-10 years. And, you know, or you file the bankruptcy case, either wipe the debt clean or come up with a repayment plan that meets your budget, and then that takes a lot of the stress off people. And you know, it's hard to see, it's hard to focus, but you know, that's our job, to, you know, talk straight with people and get right down to the bottom line. And they may not like to hear it all the time, but you know, it helps. And I think you know, once they go back and think about it, they really appreciate, you know, someone looking out for them, because they're not used to that. But anyway, it looks like we have to take a break. When we get back, we'll start our discussions on Chapter 7 and Chapter 13 bankruptcy. Give us a call here on the show, or you can email us some questions. So we'll be right back.
Some attorney ads are really over the top, within your face concepts.
Not this one, because there's nothing exciting about bankruptcy law.
But if you're struggling with credit card debt, medical bills, student loans, repossession, or mortgage payments, you'll want to hear this.
Lewis and Jurnovoy has helped thousands of people with financial problems for over 20 years.
We may be able to help you achieve financial freedom, and that is exciting.
Call Lewis and Jurnovoy today for a free consultation.
For some, serving means deploying overseas to make the world a safer place. But for many men and women in the National Guard and Reserve, serving happens closer to home.
The vast majority of New Orleans, Louisiana is underwater.
We're starting to get some reports of fire in Paradise.
Wherever you served, you've earned the right to mental health support. Go to BeThereForVeterans.com to learn how VA supports members of the National Guard and Reserve.
Welcome back to the Bankruptcy Hour. I'm Steve Jurnovoy. I'm here with my partner Martin Lewis. We're from the law firm of Lewis and Jurnovoy, located downtown. And Martin and I are here talking about the financial problems people on the Gulf Coast are experiencing, and how we can help set up a game plan to try and alleviate some of that. So Martin, we spent a bunch of time talking about, why people go into bankruptcy. It could happen to anyone out there, and you just never know when financial problems are around the corner. So, setting up that game plan. If people are in trouble, there's two types of consumer bankruptcy. Chapter 13, why don't you tell people a little bit about when we use 13 and how it works?
Okay, so Stephen, Chapter 13 bankruptcy is a repayment plan. It's a debt consolidation through the bankruptcy court. It's stronger than a non-bankruptcy consolidation because under Chapter 13 it can include all your debt. So credit cards, medical bills, the IRS, student loans, car loans, your mortgage. If you got debts, we can put it into Chapter 13 and propose some type of repayment. Now, Chapter 13 is not right for everybody because most people we see just can't afford a repayment. So, and we look at that, Stephen, because again, people come in and they want to pay back. And some people say, look, I saw your TV show. We want to file Chapter 13. Well, if your budget doesn't show that you can afford a repayment, then we're not going to recommend that. The way Steve and I look at your case is, what is best for you and your circumstances? Not what's best for the people or companies you owe the money to. We don't care about them. They got all the money. They got their own lawyers. You don't have anything like that. So that's what our goal is, to say, hey, what's best for this person? What's going to fit into their budget? What can they afford to repay, if anything? Most people in Chapter 13 are there for one of a couple reasons. One, they have a mortgage problem. Two, they can afford some type of repayment. Or three, maybe they're in jeopardy of losing the asset if they file the other bankruptcy. Most people who file Chapter 13 are there really due to a mortgage issue, that you're behind on your mortgage, and maybe your mortgage company has stopped accepting payments, or you've gotten crossways and they've pushed you into foreclosure, and we file you into bankruptcy in an effort to resolve this. Now, we're throwing around all these terms. Something you should know is that when you file a bankruptcy, it stops collection against you. So if you were in a foreclosure and you filed Chapter 13, boom, the foreclosure stops. If your car was about to get repossessed, you filed Chapter 13, boom, no more repossession, it stops. And same with billing or telephone calls or garnishments. Any attempt to collect debt, once we file the bankruptcy, stops. And then it goes into the bankruptcy court, and again, Chapter 13 allows us to propose a plan of repayment that can go 3 to 5 years. And I mean, we have people going into Chapter 13 every week that are struggling with their mortgages or really struggling to repay. We put them in Chapter 13 and propose repayment. Stephen, there's so much under Chapter 13 that can be done to help people. One, when we even file Chapter 13, we don't even have to pay back in full. So the court allows us to propose a repayment plan that fits into your budget. And if you have $20,000 of credit card debt and we can't pay it back in full, then at the end of the bankruptcy case, it gets wiped out. So Chapter 13 has these rules and laws that are all designed to help you, to put you in a better position than you are when you came in to first see us.
And Martin, let's expand upon your example where someone has $20,000 of credit card debt, and maybe through the case you're paying off $1,000 or $2,000, and you're wondering, well, where's all that extra money going that I used to pay those credit cards with? Well, we're restructuring everything, and we're going to make it a little easier for you to make that house payment. So that frees up maybe $300-400 a month that you can use for your house payment. So, it's really great out there, and we've kept a lot of people in their houses. And Martin, you don't have to wait for foreclosure in order to do this. So, once you're behind on the house and know you can't catch up, especially if you have other debts out there also, we can get going on this. We can put your past due mortgage payments in this plan and let you get started current again immediately. And Martin, last 10 years, these mortgage companies, they were waiting to pull the trigger on a foreclosure. You could be a year, 2 years. But now in the last few months, we really seen it coming back to what it used to be, where you're getting foreclosure lawsuits after missing 3 or 4 or 5 mortgage payments. So a lot of the mortgage companies are really pulling the trigger quickly. I had 2 people in today that they missed 4 mortgage payments and they're already served with foreclosure papers. So it does happen out there, and what it does is not many people can come up with 4 mortgage payments at one time. It's just really not going to happen these days. So there has to be a mechanism to help you save your house, and this is it. We can take those 4 mortgage payments, and if, let's say, it total $10,000, well, instead of paying that $10,000 all at once that you really can't do, we're going to spread it out over 5 years for you and get you started again on your mortgage payment. So that's kind of how we use Chapter 13 to save people's homes. And as Martin mentioned, if there is a foreclosure out there, the bankruptcy filing stops that and allows you to stay in the house.
Stephen, we force this on your creditors. So we're not asking your mortgage company to do this. We're telling them this is what we're doing. We're going into bankruptcy, and then the rules change. Because guess what? The bankruptcy laws are tilted towards you. That's why they're the bankruptcy laws, because they start to put things over in your corner and away from those that you owe money to. So let's take Stephen's example, that you're 4 months behind on your mortgage and like, oh my gosh, I can start making the payment again. And you send them the payment, what do? They reject it. They say, send me 4 payments, send me 4 late fees, or don't send me a dime, because we're not going to take any more. But once we file this bankruptcy case, we force your mortgage company to start accepting your payments again. So let's say you were a year and a half behind on your mortgage. We could take that year and a half, just like Stephen said, pay it back over 3 to 5 years in bankruptcy, and force your mortgage company to start accepting your payments again. At the same point, we've got all your other debt going into this repayment plan. We don't necessarily have to pay it back in full. And Stephen also just said this, that maybe you were trying to pay all that other debt. Well, we don't have to keep paying on that. We're going to use that money to help you pay your mortgage, keep food on the table, your lights on, insurance, meet your basic living expenses. Now, Stephen, Chapter 13 also has a way for us to modify a mortgage or rewrite a mortgage. That's what a modification is. We did a lot of those in the last 10 years. We've done a lot of mortgage modifications. We're not doing as many of them because the mods are coming in at today's interest rate, and a lot of people we see have 2.5%, 3.5%, 4% interest rates, and if you modify, a good chance is you're going to lose that interest rate and go into 6 or 7%, which may be even harder for you to save your house. And Stephen, I talk with this because a lot of people we talk with who are trying to resolve their mortgage or looking at modifications, not realizing that, hey, if I get this modification, my payment is going to be huge because it's based on today's interest rate. We're here to help y'all. Pick up the phone, give us a call. Don't wait to the last minute. We have people who come in at the very last minute. When you're in foreclosure in Florida, it ends with something called a sale date. So we're going to file bankruptcy. We have to file it before the sale date. But if you come in a day before the sale date, it's going to be real hard for me to do the paperwork and get the case done to get you into bankruptcy to stop the foreclosure sale. So we're here to help you. Your mortgage company's not your friend. And Stephen, we see this where people are calling their mortgage company, begging for help, and the mortgage company's hired lawyers and told the lawyers to go foreclose, and they're moving down the foreclosure through the court system, and you're on the phone with the mortgage company thinking that they're going to help you because they say, oh, well, we got all these programs, and you can fill out this paperwork, and we're going to send it in. But at the same time, the lawyers are marching down towards that foreclosure sale. So look, a rule of thumb is if they got a lawyer, you definitely should get your own lawyer. But just like Stephen said earlier, you don't have to wait for it to go all the way to the lawyer, because once it goes to the lawyer, then they're adding all their legal fees and court costs, and all this stuff is added into your mortgage. So once the problem is identified and you're struggling to pay it, call our office and set up that free appointment.
Okay, and Martin, same thing, we can put cars in a Chapter 13 plan if you're struggling with the car payment. Usually if you miss 2 payments, you're in jeopardy of getting the vehicle repossessed. We can stop that repossession, and we can even modify a car loan in certain situations in the bankruptcy case. Martin, the third place we use it is for people who can afford some type of payment, but they can't afford, the ridiculous interest rates the credit cards are charging. So 13 allows us to come up with some type of payment plan that meets your budget, and your time's limited. It's a 3 to 5 year case. So even if you're paying the same amount outside of bankruptcy that you would inside a bankruptcy case, it still may be beneficial, because if you're doing this bankruptcy case, payments are over in 3 to 5 years. If you were trying to do it outside of bankruptcy, you're going to be making those payments for 25 or 30 years. So we do a lot of cases for people with credit card debt that just can't, they're not getting anywhere. They're never going to get anywhere, but they can afford something, and we come up with a payment plan that meets their budget.
Stephen, and you'll hear people say when they're paying their credit cards and stuff, they're like, oh my gosh, if they could just freeze the balance, I could pay this thing off. But we know there's no balance freezing. There's interest running every day on these things. But when you file this Chapter 13, boom, it does freeze your balance. So each creditor has about 75 days to file a claim into Chapter 13, and they file a claim of what you owe us at the date that we filed your bankruptcy.
All right, Martin, we're going to take another break. When we come back, we'll finish up Chapter 13 and go into Chapter 7. Call us at the office, set up that free appointment. We're always happy to meet with you and work out some type of game plan to help you and your family get the fresh start that everyone deserves. We'll be right back.
Animal Allies is looking for volunteers, and there are many ways that you can help. From taking care of cats to using your computer and social media skills, any and all assistance is greatly appreciated. We have morning and afternoon shifts every day, or help at adoption events. You can even foster a kitty at home, and it counts towards community service hours for bright futures. Find Animal Allies Florida on Facebook and Instagram, or go to aaflorida.org/volunteer.
Some attorney ads are really over the top, within your face concepts.
Not this one. because there's nothing exciting about bankruptcy law.
But if you're struggling with credit card debt, medical bills, student loans, repossession, or mortgage payments, you'll want to hear this.
Lewis and Jurnovoy has helped thousands of people with financial problems for over 20 years.
We may be able to help you achieve financial freedom, and that is exciting.
Call Lewis and Jurnovoy today for a free consultation.
Join the exciting world of television. Blab TV has an opening for an aggressive media consultant to help local businesses with their marketing needs. Blab TV pays some of the highest commissions in the market and provides the sales tools needed to succeed. I'm Director of Sales, Rick Wenzel. If you're an aggressive person who won't take no for an answer, send me your resume today.
Welcome back to the Bankruptcy Hour. I'm Steve Jurnovoy, and I'm here with my partner, Martin Lewis. We're from the law firm of Lewis and Jurnovoy, located downtown, and Martin and I are here talking about Chapter 7 and Chapter 13 bankruptcy, mortgage foreclosures, any other kind of financial problems. We'll be happy to answer any questions. Before the break, we were, talking about Chapter 13 and how we can help people save their houses in Chapter 13, their cars, and get those pesky credit cards paid off in Chapter 13 within a reasonable period of time. It really does help people. Martin, you have anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I guess about Chapter 13, Stephen. So the bankruptcy court sets the legal fees under Chapter 13. They're already predetermined in every case. What we do for our clients in most cases is we put your legal fees in your repayment plan. So we make this real easy for you to file the case. Most people pay costs up front, some court costs, a little search that we do, but it's only a few $100s. So, I mean, we can get you in bankruptcy under Chapter 13, again, with no legal fees down, and get you into this repayment plan that's extremely powerful and put you back in the driver's seat. So now you can be the boss of your creditors and they're not the boss of you. I mean, this is what's going on, Stephen. People are bossed around by the creditors and those that they owe money to. Every day they're getting an earful from people. And not only an earful, they get attacked through wage garnishment, foreclosure, and all those other nasty things. So give us a call. Let us take a look at Chapter 13 with you. Again, you can come in on that free appointment and we'll go over it with you. We file Chapter 13 cases every week, stopping foreclosures and getting people back on track with their houses. Stephen, what we also found out is that you lose your house, you got to go rent. And for a lot of people, even as much as the house cost, it can be a lot cheaper than having to pay rent. Some people are going to go pay more if they lose their house and go pay rent. So let's keep these houses. They're a great asset for people.
Right, and Martin, not everyone needs to do Chapter 13. Not everyone can afford it. So for those people out there, there's Chapter 7. When do we use Chapter 7 and how's it work?
So, Stephen, Chapter 7 is the most popular type of bankruptcy. So most people who file bankruptcy in the country go through Chapter 7. It is not a repayment. It's not designed to help people save a house. So again, if we're behind on your house, we may talk briefly to you about Chapter 7, but it's really Chapter 13. Under Chapter 7, Stephen, that's also what we call straight bankruptcy, and that bankruptcy case is designed to really just wipe out as much debt as we possibly can for you. People are wiping out credit card debt and medical bills and repossessions. The case is for people who really just have enough money to live on, Stephen, and not much more other money.
And so what happens with the Chapter 7 is we're going to wipe out credit cards, signature loans, medical bills, repossession deficiencies. We can get rid of lawsuits. Maybe you took the internet loan or payday loans out there. Those can be wiped out in bankruptcy. Martin, we can wipe out past due taxes if they're a little older. So it can do signature loans from banks. All those can be wiped out and let you get a fresh start. And again, when we do this, it frees up money that may have been going to pay your credit cards before, and now you have that extra money to help you with your living expenses, including, you know, any kind of house payment you may have, whether it's a mortgage or you're renting a property. So, you know, that's another big consideration when you're filing Chapter 7. It's going to free money up so to make it easier to pay your necessities, and that's what it's there for.
So, as Stephen had some great points there, and that freeing up money is so important, and I don't know that everybody fully understands that. I mean, if you're trying to pay on all these credit cards and all this debt, and now all the debt is gone, that's where your freed up money goes. And maybe that freed up money, maybe it helps you pay your mortgage on time, or now you can buy homeowners insurance, or maybe you can go to the doctor, or you can take your medicine every day, or you can go see the dentist, or now you can afford to go buy the tires for your car. So, you know, a lot of us are making sacrifices every week to pay bills. And once the bills go away, then maybe there's some money that's available to you to help you pay your other debts. Stephen, I want to also mention Chapter 7 allows us to give back property and not owe any more money, so you can be way upside down on a car. What does that mean? Well, you owe a lot more on the car than it's worth. Maybe you owe $40,000 on it, it's only worth $25,000. We can go into bankruptcy and say, hey, we don't want this car anymore, we're going to give it back, and then we don't owe any more money. We don't care what you sell it for. You can sell it for $5. We don't care, because under bankruptcy law, you don't owe any more money. And then we'll see people with timeshares. I mean, timeshares are horrible for people. They're like, oh my gosh, you can't get rid of a timeshare. And then there's all these companies that say they can help you get rid of them, and you just pay them and you still can't get rid of them. But under bankruptcy law, we can surrender them in bankruptcy and can have your liability wiped out or released on that. Now, I got a few examples I want to talk about, but let me see what Stephen looked like he wanted to say something.
Well, I just, you know, you mentioned you can give property back, and I just want to caution people out there. The last 2 or 3 months, Martin and I have seen people come into our office with, you know, significant car payments. We're talking even $1,000 is cheap these days, but, you know, I had one in that had a $2,000 car payment, and they've recently bought the car. So, you know, just be careful out there. I mean, that's a huge amount of money. You know, do you really need that, you know, brand new pickup truck that, you know, it's a $100,000 pickup truck, but, you know, we just shake our head all the time, Mark. We can't believe people are getting finance for it, but, you know, that's what the car dealers are doing. They're putting people in these vehicles, and it doesn't take long at $1,000 or $1,500 a month before people start having trouble. And it's just every day we come in and say to each other, you know, I just broke the record of, you know, highest car payment, and you know, we never used to see them that high, but, you know, car prices are a lot, and I realize you need a vehicle, but, you know, when you're having financial problems, you know, you just got to be careful out there.
And the good news is, again, the bankruptcy law lets us walk away from all of this. So I had an elderly couple in just yesterday. They had an RV, they had a trailer, some side-by-side thing, and they used the stuff, but they're not able to use it anymore due to their health conditions. And we see that where people purchase stuff to use and then they can't use it anymore, but they still owe a lot of money on it. Again, bankruptcy law will let us walk away from this stuff, turn back in the collateral. If you have this expensive vehicle and you're like, oh my gosh, I got to get out from under this $1,500 month
What was
payment.
I thinking? Right?
Yeah, what was I thinking? Yeah. It's fine. We can walk away from this under the bankruptcy law, and we can turn this property in and not owe any more money on it. So it's a great thing that bankruptcy allows us to get out from under property and give it back and not owe any more money, and then move forward with our lives. so that we can live within the monies that come in each month. I mean, that's really what we're trying to do here. We're not trying to game the system. We're just people trying to make it. That's most people in bankruptcy.
And Martin, we keep talking about, you know, Chapter 7 wipes debts out. You don't have to pay it anymore. But I just wanted to make sure that everyone understands that, you know, if you do have a house and you have a mortgage, if you want to keep the house, you have to pay that mortgage. Same thing with the vehicle. If there's a vehicle loan on it, if you want to keep it, you still have to pay that vehicle loan. So that's part of everything we go over when you come in. But you know, every once in a while we get people in there that just assume that it's going to wipe my mortgage out. And you know, if it did, everyone would be running to file bankruptcy, and we'd be retired by now. So, but that doesn't happen, and that's okay. But as we said, it's important to, you know, keep paying the house, keep it up, because if you have to go rent a place now, it may end up being a whole lot more money than, you know, what you're paying on your mortgage. So, you know, just be careful. But that's how the Chapter 7 works, Martin. Now, what about other property? You know, people always come in and think, well, are they going to bring a moving truck to my house?
So, yeah, I think that's a great question, Stephen. Most people don't lose anything under Chapter 7. So, your assets are the things that you have. It could be your coffee maker, your toaster, your dinette set, your sofa, your lawnmower. Well, the truth is we all got the same stuff at home, right? We all know what each other have because we all buy the same stuff. Most of it, Stephen, is not worth a lot of money. So the bankruptcy laws give you allowances or exemptions to help you protect property. If we see something of yours that's in jeopardy, then we're going to let you know that before filing bankruptcy. But generally, people keep all their household stuff. In Florida, has a great homestead exemption. So if you have a lot of equity in your home or you have a fully paid for home, most likely, in most cases, that home's going to be fully protected in bankruptcy. And then, of course, all these retirement plans, Stephen, the 401k, 403b, state of Florida, civil service, OPM, all these different retirements, income streams, Social Security, retirement income, all of this stuff is protected in bankruptcy, which means the court can't take it from you. When the case is over, you'll still have it. So if you had $100,000 in your 401k and you filed bankruptcy, you'll still have that $100,000 when the case is over. So, I mean, this is real important that we can protect assets when you go into bankruptcy. It's also important because we don't want you to give away those assets before we file bankruptcy.
Right, and Martin, a lot of times people, before they come see us, are going to go get a 401k loan and pay off a, you know, portion of what they owe, and then they realize, well, I can't do the rest of it, I need to file bankruptcy. And if they pulled out $10,000 or $15,000 to do that, well, that was $10,000 or $15,000 we could have protected in the bankruptcy, and they just basically threw it away. So, you know, same thing if you go to get a, you know, a home equity loan and pull equity out of your house, it's the same type of thing. And we used to see that a lot, you know, when home equity loans were real big. But, you know, I guess the moral of the story is before you make a big financial decision and you know you have some problems, you know, come talk to us. Let's figure out this game plan. And that may be part of it. That may be an option. And we can tell you, well, you know, that's not a real good option because even if you pull 15 grand out, you still have $40,000 more. How are you going to pay for that? And, you know, a lot of times people don't, you know, when they're in the moment, they're just looking, well, I can get them off my back. And, you know, by doing this, and I'll deal with the other stuff later. And you know, they're not putting it all together and coming to see us. That's what we do. We look at the whole picture, and we've done this for so long, we can kind of guide you what's good, what's bad, what you don't want to do, and how we can work around it. But call us at the office, set up that free appointment. Our phone's on the screen throughout the show, and we're going to come back and finish our Chapter 7 discussion and talk about a few other things. So we'll be right back.
I'm Emily Echeverria. I'm the Marketing Communications Director for Council on Aging of West Florida and the host of Coming of Age. In the past, Council on Aging has relied heavily on print and radio, but in the age of social media algorithms and smart devices, we know how highly prioritized and sought after video content has become. Our audience really responds to video content, and yours will too, especially the high quality of video that Blab produces. I'm Emily Echeverria, and I am Blab TV.
Mom was always very self-sufficient, but we started noticing things were off.
I was forgetting my responsibilities at work.
I told Mom we should visit a doctor.
Alzheimer's. It was hard to hear that.
Early detection gave us time to seek information and support as a family. I've never felt more connected with Mom.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
Substance use disorder and addiction is so isolating. And so, as a Black woman in recovery, hope must be loud.
Some attorney ads are really over the top, within-your-face concepts.
Not this one, because there's nothing exciting about bankruptcy law.
But if you're struggling with credit card debt, medical bills, student loans, repossession, or mortgage payments, you'll want to hear this.
Lewis and Jurnovoy has helped thousands of people with financial problems for over 20 years.
We may be able to help you achieve financial freedom, and that is exciting.
Call Lewis and Jurnovoy today for a free consultation.
Hey Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry, I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Can birds draw pictures?
I don't have an answer for that.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
Welcome back to the Bankruptcy Hour. I'm Steve Jurnovoy, and I'm here with my partner, Martin Lewis. We're from the law firm of Lewis and Jurnovoy, located downtown, and Martin and I are here talking about Chapter 7 and Chapter 13 bankruptcy and helping people along the Gulf Coast with their financial problems. So, Martin, we were, talking about the Chapter 7, how it, wipes debts out and kind of frees up money for people to, so they can pay necessities or maybe, get some health insurance that they want. So, if you are struggling out there, Martin, there's some warning signs that you should look for if you're not paying your bills, if you're only making minimum payments, if you're getting, either phone calls or letters from collectors. It means you're, behind on bills and experiencing financial problems. Maybe you're having trouble with your car or mortgage payment, or you're hocking the title to your car over in Alabama, or getting internet loans. These are all types of signals that show that there's some kind of financial problems out there. And if, one or more of these things are popping up, then I think you need help, and before it snowballs, let's see if we can do anything.
Stephen, the Chapter 7 case is a short case. It lasts like 4 months. I mean, that's really quick. The Chapter 13's 3 to 5 years. 4 months. I mean, you could have been struggling for years. You could have been struggling for decades to pay these bills. 4 months. I mean, it's literally the quickest court system, I think, in the country. We file the case. The goal of the case is to get the judge to sign an order of discharge, which is an order saying you don't owe the bills anymore. 4 months. That is so quick to take you out of debt. Most people have one court hearing under Chapter 7. Right now, they're doing it on Zoom. So you don't even have to go to the courthouse anymore. You don't have to go through security. You could sit in your car, which a lot of our clients do, and do your court hearing on your telephone. So this is a great thing for people. Chapter 7, I think, is a great thing because you can get out of debt so quickly and move on with your life.
And Martin, while it takes 4 months, like you said earlier, as soon as we file that case, you get the protection of the bankruptcy court.
That's right.
And it stops all collection efforts again. So, you know, the phone calls have to stop, the letters have to stop. If there's a lawsuit out there, that comes to a complete stop even before your case is over. So, you know, great result. Martin, how many times people come in and tell us they're just so frustrated with all the phone calls they get from credit, it's just stressing them out.
Absolutely.
Well, once we file, they don't have to deal with that again. And even before they file, Martin, once they hire us, they can give our name and number out, and a lot of the creditors are going to start calling us instead of you. And, you know, some of the calls are going to stop from that point on. So, and that's what people say, Martin, once they file the case and it's, you know, 4 months later, they go, I just can't believe how good I feel. I mean, the stress is gone. I was just so worried. You know, I didn't even realize how stressed I was at the time. And, you know, I feel a whole lot better now.
Stephen, sometimes I had a lady in today, and she was a single parent, raising a child. She got $40,000 a year of income. But the average in Florida for a family of two is like $75,000. And she said, gosh, I feel so guilty about, you know, having to go into bankruptcy. I'm like, nobody is worried about you and whether you're keeping your lights on and food on the table and taking care of your child. Quit worrying about what these creditors think of you. They're just banks and loan lenders and money lenders and money in and money out and money, money, money. That's all they care about. They're not a people who has to raise a child or get sick or has to go to the grocery store. I mean, these places are 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We're more important. People are more important than the bank and these corporations and these lenders. And it's time that you take care of yourself and put yourself first, because that's what the law says. You and your family are first before these banks and companies that you owe money to. And you have to look at it like that. Stephen, they never come to court. So you file bankruptcy. Let's say you got 20 different companies you owe money to. They don't even care. They don't come to bankruptcy court. They could appear on their computer screen too from Delaware or New York or Sioux Falls or California. They could appear, but they don't. They don't care that you file bankruptcy. So I tell this to people because they put a lot of stress on themselves of what are people are going to think? What are creditors going to think that I went into bankruptcy? Well, nobody knows that you go into bankruptcy. For one thing, the creditors don't care. And if you told a friend or family member, I'm going to have to go into bankruptcy, chances are they're going to say, oh, you too, huh? Because so many people have financial problems these days.
And Martin, when people end up filing or when they come in to see us, you know, that's our goal is to moving forward. How are we best going to set you and your family up? And, you know, what people don't realize is, you know, what's most important is, you know, how am I going to take, you know, pay for my family and my living expenses over the next X number of years. And, you know, they're more worried, like you said, about what the bank's going to think. The bank doesn't care. They've made so much money off you charging 25, 30% and borrowing money at 2 or 3%. So, you know, they've made their money. In fact, they can't wait till you to file bankruptcy so they can give you another credit card to get you back on the gravy train, because, you know, that's a pretty good deal, charging 25, 30% interest, and, you know, it's only costing you 2 or 3%. They make a lot of money doing that, and, you know, we see it within 4 months of filing, you know, your bankruptcy, people are getting credit card solicitations again.
It comes quick, Stephen. And again, the bankruptcy laws are tilted in your favor. So the law is there to help you to move forward, to put the past in the past. That's what it is. Not your income in the past anymore, because that's what it is. A lot of people are paying old debt and old things that they can't afford into the past. No, Chapter 7 is going to give you back your money so that you can afford your life again, and then you can start to rebuild your future instead of sending all your money to a bunch of old debt and old things that you can't afford anymore. And the law is good with all of that. The law supports that position. Stephen, a lot of people review us on the internet. We've got a lot of great reviews out there on Google. We're real proud of our reviews. We represent people all over the Panhandle. We're really just a phone call away. Just pick up the phone, call us, and set up that free appointment. There's only 2 lawyers. It's just us 2. So that's it. That's the law firm and then our staff. So when you come in, you're going to see one of us. Stephen, all of our viewers should remember that the hiring of an attorney, it's an important decision. It shouldn't be based solely upon an advertisement. Before you decide, ask us to send you free written information regarding our qualifications and our experience.
And I wanted to add one point before the show ends, is that we've seen a lot of people recently who've gotten into trouble co-signing loans with friends or family members, whether it's a vehicle, RV. Just be careful and remember there's no primary or secondary on these loans. Once you sign on the dotted line, you're responsible for 100% of the loan if it defaults. So that's number one. Number two, even if someone's paying the loan and it's slow pay, that affects your credit. And we've seen a lot of people try to refinance a mortgage or something else that have been denied because there's slow pays on their credit, and you just don't realize that. So be careful. If you have to co-sign a loan for someone, it means that person can't afford whatever they're buying and they need some help. And that should be your number one warning sign. And it's nice to be nice to family members, but be careful out there. The United States Congress has designated our law firm as a debt relief agency to help people file Chapter 7 and Chapter 13 bankruptcy. So if you're experiencing financial problems and drowning in debt, give us a call. Martin and I are here to help. Everyone deserves a second chance out there, and we want to make life a little easier and take the stress off. So we have a free appointment. Call us at the office. Our phone number's on the screen, and just give us a call, and we're here to help you, and we'll see you next week.